Nobody likes rejection, but for some people, teasing, being left out of a social event, even receiving constructive criticism can lead to extremely negative feelings. Put another way, the punishment doesn't fit the crime. The emotional reaction doesn't match the perceived slight made.
This is called Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria. In today's episode, we break down RSD. What is it? What other conditions is it often linked to? And how can you cope with RSD or help someone you know who has RSD? Let's dive in.
So full disclosure to our listeners, we were a little bit on the struggle bus trying to come up with the topic that we wanted to discuss on today's episode.
It's just been a busy week.
It has. And when we batted around a couple different ideas, and this was the last one that was proposed. And as soon as you said it, I was like, yes, that is the one I want us to do. Not that it was meant to just be my decision, but it was like this one. And that's when you know you have a good idea, right?
When we both get excited about it.
When we both get excited, when it really resonates. And
this topic, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, has been on our long-running list for a while.
Yes.
But it just hit right today.
I wish I had a video of you delivering it that way just now. It was perfect.
Well, I have wanted to know more because I feel like I may have it or have some of it, if you can have some, or I don't know.
Right. You might be on the spectrum of it.
I might be on the RSD spectrum. And we may want to abbreviate rejection sensitivity dysphoria, RSD, just to make it a little easier. So if you mean just RSD, so that
we don't like fall all over our tongue throughout this entire episode?
So, but I know you've mentioned it possibly one of your children having it.
Yes.
And so we wanted to look more into it. And, you know, let's just first out, no one likes rejection, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's normal.
Nobody likes rejection.
Yeah. I mean,
nobody likes criticism.
Whether it's in a romantic relationship or friendship, work, whatever, it's just negative, unpleasant feelings that kind of creep up.
Yes.
But usually you can pull yourself together, manage your emotions, and kind of get over it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But
in time.
But what we are talking about is rejection, same kind of rejection, but instead of being able to slowly manage your feelings and get over it, you have extremely intense negative feelings and severe emotional pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's really difficult to control. And so people with RSD, they don't handle rejection or conflict, or we're going to go through a list well. And they find it hard to describe what they're feeling. They use words like unbearable or devastating. And I had a situation last week. I brought it up, used myself as an example with Brierley, where I think I said what this person did. Either, can't remember if it was devastating. I do remember saying it just guts me.
Yes.
And that's an extreme reaction to what occurred last week.
Yes. And so for me,
and I just couldn't get over it.
Yes, exactly.
The other person had gotten over it. I could not.
You could not get past it.
I was so upset.
Yes. So when we were looking into RSD, the explanation that resonated the best with me, and I want to share it with listeners, was the concept that there is a normal or typical response to rejection. And
which isn't a positive one. It's everyone's going to feel a little negativity.
Exactly. But when the feelings of rejection outweigh, like are bigger, are not relative to the cause of the rejection, is when you are looking more at RSD than you are at just your typical rejection.
And I'm going to say I can handle rejection. I've learned pretty well how to handle it, but there's certain instances where when it does happen, it is so devastating. Like it just stops me in my tracks, and I cannot function or get over it.
Yes.
Until there's some resolution.
Yes. So when it is not, when the internal reaction is not in proportion to what the trigger is.
And logically, you kind of know.
Oh, yeah.
but
There's
you
your
can't-
logical brain
yeah.
versus your emotional brain. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what's interesting about RSD is it was first identified in individuals that have ADHD. So a lot of times, and that's why I've seen it more and more on like accounts that are talk about ADHD. A lot more have been popping up my feed for some reason talking about RSD.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of interesting, and we'll talk later about why it is linked to ADHD, and it's linked to other mental health conditions. But so some people may think I'm crazy or not even understand this intense reaction and rejection, and I think part of it is you're just a little more sensitive. So I'm gonna go through some situations that could be common triggers. Okay, being corrected. Constructive criticism from a teacher or boss. This goes back to grade school for me.
Really?
I was like, there is nothing, or like constructive criticism is positive. I'm like, no, this devastates me. Now I've gotten over it. I like constructive criticism now. But I think part of the way I cope is I just overdo it. I make sure it's like
Perfect.
Yes.
I can see this.
Or I come in and I say, I know this needs work. I kind of, so it's
You
not as
couch it.
devastating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, friends canceling plans. Losing a competition. I don't really compete much. I just compete against myself, so I'm okay with that. Okay, not receiving praise when expected. I don't have an extreme one, but I do feel that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or not being acknowledged.
Yes.
Teasing. Perceived rejection from others. So, just perceived. It could be real rejection, but it could just be perceived. Failing to meet one's own standards or expectations. Social situations where one feels judged or excluded.
I can see that.
Experiences of failure or making mistakes. Not being included in social events. Fear of disappointing or letting others down. Conflict or arguments in relationships. That is what I had last week. Comparison with others and feelings of inadequacy.
Interesting. But the thing is that these are all also, to me, these can trigger typical rejection.
Yeah.
Normal rejection.
Yeah.
But with RSD,
it's much more significant.
They can really take a toll.
Yeah. And so some of the effects are like you become highly sensitive about the possibility of rejection. And if you're just kind of on uber alert for potential rejection, that's socially, I would think, going to hold you back or maybe like make you not even want to like
engage
at all.
Yeah.
I can say I've been guilty of that a little. So you also have overly high standards for oneself, feeling easily triggered towards guilt or shame, isolating oneself, so, protecting yourself so you won't be rejected.
Yeah.
Through isolation.
Yeah.
Aggressive or rageful behaviors towards those who have been perceived to have slighted you. Frequently feeling an uncomfortable physical reaction due to, quote, not fitting in or being misunderstood. Self-esteem that is entirely dependent on what others think and rises and falls accordingly. Frequent and intense ruminating after an interaction. Very guilty of that.
Yeah.
Even a normal interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the ruminating part is very interesting. Like that to me, like jumps out as very telling. The sensitivity to even just like the slightest hint of rejection. I'm not saying this is you. I'm just saying like those are the ones that really jump out at me as like, oh, okay, I can see where I could better identify the potential of RSD.
Yeah.
And those are the ones actually that I see in one of my kids is I see that high sensitivity. I see ruminating. I see a little bit of withdrawal. I see a lot of shame. A lot of shame.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I was reading about it in kids, and it said, a meltdown, like the effect of like RSD in kids may be like an abnormal meltdown, one worse than normal, or aggressive or anger or that, more intense than usual.
Yeah.
So it may not be, but that's hard to remember when they're, angry and yelling and that kind of thing, or they're having a complete meltdown. It's hard to remember that, like, oh, this may be coming from a place of shame or insecurity or, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
So, okay, so I was really interested in how it's linked to ADHD because I did read a current researcher says that, I think it was something like over 90% of adults with ADHD have RSD or some form of it.
Say that.
That's what it
Say that
said.
again.
I think I made over 90% of adults
Who have ADHD have RSD?
or some form of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, okay, so the way they first identified it is they were looking at individuals who have ADHD, and they were observing the emotional regulation or dysregulation in individuals with ADHD. And they found that this emotional state, which they labeled atypical depression. They couldn't really put a finger on it, but it wasn't a normal emotional state. It wasn't true depression. And fast forward through the years when they started understanding RSD more and understanding ADHD more, they realized, oh, this, quote, atypical depression that we discovered, that's RSD.
Yeah.
And so it's not that it's exclusively linked to ADHD. It's just that that's where the concept or that's how it came to be or evolved.
I think that the way that they characterize it as atypical depression, I think, is really interesting because it is. I mean, to me, I'm like, oh, that is a atypical form of depression.
Yeah, definitely. But they've also, and ADHD, one of the symptoms with ADHD is there is some emotional dysregulation. It's harder to control your emotions. So it makes sense there too. But they say other forms of neurodivergence, like autism spectrum disorder, you can see RSD there. And then they found that it can be a trait in other mental health conditions like bipolar, body dysmorphic disorder, depression, personality disorders, PTSD, and social anxiety. And they don't really know if it's a symptom of these or like if it's RSD's its whole other condition on its own. You know?
Yeah.
But they overlap.
Well, and that was the other thing that I thought was interesting is that they have not gotten to a place of saying like, oh, this is actually in and of itself, like is its own entity.
Yeah. RSD isn't in the, DSM-5,
right?
The diagnosis code book for mental health conditions. And I think it's still not 100% accepted maybe by all mental health practitioners.
That was the gist that I felt like I was getting, especially as I was reading some of the research on it. And this was where Carolyn had to correct me, is I'm like reading about all of this rejection sensitivity. And Carolyn, you were like, well, hold on a minute. There's a difference. There's a difference between rejection sensitivity and rejection sensitivity or sensitive dysmorphia.
Yeah.
And so that in and of itself, just noticing that like there doesn't seem to be a lot on RSD.
Yeah. And I would say probably the way I see it is rejection sensitivity, not the dysphoria part.
I called it the wrong thing. Sorry.
But I see that kind of being more relatable to what's going on in your life at the time. Like you've had a really crappy week.
Yeah.
You're going to be a lot more sensitive to some rejection or to some criticism. That's kind of how I see it. And the RSD is more, I guess it doesn't necessarily make logical sense. The extreme reaction that the person has internally, emotionally, does not really line up with the rejection, the criticism, the exclusion, whatever it was.
Right. Exactly. Yes. But it also, I wonder how pervasive it is in people with anxiety.
Yeah.
Because in one of the studies, it was saying that anxiety disorders were twice as likely to just have rejection sensitivity in comparison to people who just had depression alone.
Interesting. So I was like, well, great. We're looking into this. What can I do?
I know, right? Yeah. Well, what do you do?
I think I have learned, developed coping mechanisms, because I'm not sensitive to everything at all. And I think I've gotten less sensitive to things I used to be sensitive to.
Yes.
But there are just certain instances where it just
it
triggers
really
me.
triggers you. Yeah.
So
what can we do?
So there's cognitive behavioral therapy. They also say acknowledge it and, think about it, or try, maybe not think about it, try to find something to distract you. Try an activity or something. Don't just sit there and analyze it over and over and over
Again.
in your head.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're just kind of reliving the experience. They said I thought this was really good. They said if you have a child that you think, they said it's really important to normalize that child's RSD experiences. Say, like, of course you're feeling upset. Anybody would be, I would feel upset in that situation. Like, acknowledge it so they know it's okay to feel, and, say, don't worry, things will get better. Things are going to, will be fine, that kind of thing. They also say start to teach your kids self-compassion. And they said kids can fall into what they call an over-focus loop and start dropping to a shame spiral. Mm-hmm. And I think I've seen that in one of yours.
Yes, that is exactly what happens.
And they're unable to forgive or stop replaying the incident in their head. And, it's important to explain to them that we all make mistakes, and, that's how we grow and learn, and we just move on, and it's okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that they recommended is, if you feel comfortable, if your child is comfortable, but it may be helpful to let, their teacher know, and just be like, okay, they're a little more sensitive than possibly others. So, if we can tread gently when we're giving constructive criticism, not that the teacher shouldn't give it, but just tread a little more carefully.
Yeah.
Maybe more collaboratively with the child rather than just criticism. So, but there are also a few medications, I think, for adults that you can take. Clonidine was one of them. But there's no, I think maybe that just kind of takes the edge off. It helps with emotional regulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I mean, when you're talking about kids and teachers, I'm like, oh gosh, there are just so many instances in school as a kid and sports as a kid that, man, RSD can really do a number on you.
Yeah. And I see how kids easily get into that spiral of shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I found this fascinating. I think the association with ADHD, because we've talked a fair amount about ADHD, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it, is really interesting.
I did see one other statistic, and it was a study that found that the more pronounced a child's ADHD symptoms, the more likely they were to have RSD, which makes sense.
Yeah, when you talk about the emotional regulation component of ADHD, that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah. So,
wow,
I know, it's fun.
She says sarcastically.
Just have a good friend like Brierley who will
ride the roller coaster.
Make you keep going.
Who will ride the roller coaster.
And I'm all good now. Everything's good.
Everything is good.
Yes. So.
Well, thank you again.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Happy Eating Podcast. I'm Brierley Horton.
And I'm Carolyn Williams. If you liked this week's episode, then don't forget to rate and leave us a review on iTunes. And be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a new episode.
We can't wait to have you back at our table next week for a brand new episode. Bye.
The contents discussed in the Happy Eating Podcast, such as advice, studies, text, graphics, images, and other material discussed or presented on the site or podcast, are for informational purposes only. Content is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your mental health professional or other qualified health providers with any questions you may have regarding your condition. Never disregard professional advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on the Happy Eating Podcast.
If you are in crisis or think you may have an emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. If you're having suicidal thoughts, call 1-800-273-TALK, that's 8255, to talk to a skilled, trained counselor at the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you are located outside the United States, call your local emergency line immediately.